Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 1, where we meet the cast. We finally meet all the cast and they meet each other, and it starts 2 weeks before they're married. As you can hear, I'm a little under the weather, but we're going to do our quick therapist review, and I appreciate your patience. But of course, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below. Let me know what you think about these new couples as they are meeting each other at the altar for the first time. All right, so let's get into it. First, we have Lindy and Miguel. Lindy is described as an adventurous overthinker. And a part of me is like, how can you be both? But she definitely has an adventurous part because she's on this show. And she has a part of her that overthinks. There's also another internal conflict that she has, as she was in Seventh-day Adventist. She grew up in a very sheltered life. And so she has this kind of rebel part that has bucked against her religious upbringing. And then she also has the part of her that values her traditions and wants to honor the church that she grew up in. She said that she picks men that are emotionally unavailable and that she wants a man. So I'm hearing that she feels like the ones that are emotionally available may be immature, and so she's wanting someone who is in tune with their emotions, able to communicate them, and able to be present and vulnerable with her. Also, with talking with her friends, she said that she wants someone to help her to de-escalate when she gets kind of lost in her thinking and her thoughts are ruminating. She wants someone to help her to calm her down and to be able to center her. Miguel is described as the starry-eyed scribe, as he's a writer and a poet. He describes himself as a nerd, and he does cosplay. He loves Dungeons and Dragons. We see him in this bear costume, which is hilarious. His friends are also into cosplay, as they are dressed at the table with him. His friends are very direct with him about their concerns, as he tends to ignore red flags. And they're concerned because they feel like he wants a relationship so much that he will continue to push through the relationship despite the red flags that he sees, as he was previously in a relationship where he was cheated on and found evidence, but continued to give the person another chance. He says that he finds escape in cosplay and video games and fantasy from his reality, which makes a lot of sense because he talked about how him and his father relocated and his mother left him, and that has been a pattern in his life of women leaving him. And I would love to do a deep dive right there. I'm really tempted to, but what I will say is that Miguel seems to have a part of him that is yearning for someone to choose him, and so he'll stay to try to prove his worth in a relationship. And oftentimes we know that this is very, very dicey. This can be a very emotionally activating and triggering place for Miguel, as he's been abandoned. And this has been reinforced and re-triggered by other people's behavior. So the experts picked these two people to be together because they feel that Miguel has the emotional intelligence that Lindy is looking for, and Lindy has the staying power that Miguel has been yearning for. They both seem a little quirky, and they also seem to be very in touch with their inner child. Miguel stated with his friends that assumption that he makes is that if he is all in, then he assumes that the other person has his best interest at heart. And that is a very dangerous assumption to make. I'm a little concerned about his assumptions that he's making, his naive beliefs about love. He seems to come from a very childlike place when it comes to love, and so he may have some very high expectations of Lindy and also himself. And at the same time, Lindy also has some kind of childlike energy as well. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out in their relationship. It can be great for connection and for their play and even intimacy. And at the same time, when it comes to them having real hard communication about what's happening in their lives, I feel like this is where this couple is going to struggle. Next, we have Kristen and Mitch. Kristen is described as daring and devoted. She talks about being a child of a divorced couple and her also having a relationship that ended in infidelity and right before the wedding, and her family went on the destination wedding with her as a support. When talking with her friends about this journey, she stated that she let her mother and her sister know that she's getting married at first sight, but she's going to choose to tell her father on the wedding day. Why? This is pretty scary. She stated at the after party that she's doing this because before her family was prepared for her to get married and it didn't happen. So she wants to make sure it really happens before she tells him. I'm not buying it, but that's what she's saying. I feel like there's a part of her that's scared of her dad and his reactions, and so she's putting it off to the last minute. The wedding date's already going to be very stressful. It's always exciting, provoking, because you don't know the person you're marrying, and you're going to add on this other very stressful event on the day of the wedding. So that's going to be really interesting as to how that plays out, because I know her father's going to be upset. Like, he's going to be upset that she did this and waited to the day of the wedding to tell him. When talking to the other brides-to-be, Kristen stated that she feels like a red flag is someone who's in their late 30s who's never been in a really serious relationship. Well, her husband-to-be is 41 and he hasn't really been in a real serious relationship. He did say 2 to 3 years, so that's already like concerning, as that's going to definitely put her protection up, which is going to make it more difficult for them to join and connect. Mitch is described as a rebel with a cause. He has a passion for saving the planet and has kind of devoted his life to that. He stated that again that he's had relationships, but nothing serious, 2 to 3 years. His brother is very, very concerned about if Mitch is ready for a relationship. He feels like he is definitely ready for fatherhood, as he took care of his niece for a year and a half, and so he wants to get married. He also stated, though, that he has never really said like, oh, I can't wait to get married. Like, that's not something that he has ever said verbally. So that's a little concerning as well. His brother talked about how he can be pretty harsh with his words and also respond in ways that can be pretty like rigid, can be a bit off-putting. Mitch described himself as having an inappropriate humor and can be a bit fussy, especially when it comes to things about the planet. He talked about throwing a fuss at a restaurant because they wouldn't refill his bottle. So also his parents were divorced when he was 3 years old, and so the only close couple that he's seen is his brother and his sister-in-law. And so his brother's trying to coach him. He said, hey, what if you're going to have to compromise? What if you might not be able to throw a fuss? Because she just wants a nice night out, no fussing, just connecting. He said, I got to be true to myself, and I can't compromise who I am. This is going to be an issue. This is going to be a big issue, to the point where I'm concerned how even the honeymoon's going to go. Mitch stated that he doesn't back down, and we also hear from Justin that Mitch said he doesn't like surprises. You're married at first sight. I'm concerned about this couple. I'm very concerned about this couple. I don't really feel like they're going to be successful. I hate to say that so early on, and at the same time, I would be very shocked, just with how distant the experts tend to be. If the experts were a little bit more involved with the coaching and having more regular coaching, they'd be able to make it. But I don't think that Kristen and Mitch were matched well. I really don't. And I don't really feel like Mitch wants marriage. I feel like maybe he wants to take care of a person, to be able to take care of a little person and raise a little person, and he can do that without getting married unless he just wants the traditional family. And if that's the case, then he's going to have to work on these more extreme ways of communicating and soften just a little, just a little. Next, we have Morgan and Ben. Morgan is described as strong and independent. She stated she doesn't have much of a relationship with her father, and she went through a very hard time in the last year or so. And so she really helped to work through that and come into her own. She's into martial arts. She has ancestry and samurai warriors. So she's like a fighter. She is free. She is woman, and she is a nurse. She says she is tired of dating, but she is not your typical nurse, as she is very, very tough. It cracks me up that her friend showed the chip in her tooth as to her and Morgan sparring together and how Morgan kicked her in the mouth. I'm like, woo, Morgan is tough. I'm also very concerned about this couple, but we'll keep going. She says that she likes her independence and her control. And those are two things that I wouldn't necessarily say you give up in marriage, but those are two things that are in the balance, right? In marriage, you don't give up your independence, but you do have to connect with another person. And pretty much every decision you make is connected to another being, so that independence that you have is limited. That control you have is limited, and I'm wondering how Morgan's going to do with that. She also stated to her friends that they are giving me the picture perfect man made for me. We are hearing expectations that are so high. Whoo, those expectations are so high. Also, concern for this couple. Very concerned. As we know, nobody's going to reach those. Ben is described as the mama's boy. That's already concerning for me. Not to say that there's nothing wrong with a boy loving his mother. However, how Ben describes himself as a mother's boy is that his mother is on a pedestal, and he wants anyone that he connects with to be exactly like his mother. Well, no one is going to meet that expectation. Two people with very high expectations of their mate, and he's seeing his mother through the lens of little Ben, not Ben now. From a child's view, children kind of see their parents as almost like a superhero, like they could do anything, like look at them go. And it really seems like that's how he views his mother. And his mother is a human being. She's probably very wonderful. She's just a human being. She has flaws, she has imperfections, and any of the women that he dates, and Morgan as well, will have them. This is going to be an issue. Ben is an engineer, and he volunteers in Peru, I believe he stated. And the other issue that we have is that Ben is cheap. He says frugal. It seems like he has a very rigid part about money, and I'm really curious about his upbringing as to like what is driving this force, as he's talking about buying stocks for birthdays and anniversaries. That's not gonna go. If Morgan has gift giving as a love language, that's not gonna fly. Also, we did hear from Morgan that she wants to travel, and so if he's gonna be cheap about traveling, that's gonna be an issue for her. Ben did state that Pastor Cal told him that he's going to have to compromise on this. That's taking it very lightly. He's definitely going to have to compromise on this. This is a big issue. His friends joked with him about it, but this is serious. This is serious. They also have two opposite sexual energies. Morgan seems to want a man who's going to pursue her sexually, and he's more of a gentleman and wants to have her come to him because he wants to be mindful of her consent, and that's beautiful. I just want them to have open communication about what they want sexually. Most couples don't do that at the beginning. So I'm hoping that this is what happens, that they do talk about their sexual expectations of each other so that they can meet each other's needs. And at the same time, these really high expectations of mate is going to be, and Ben's very rigidness about money, and Morgan wanting independence and control. This is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. Next, we have Stacia and Nate. Stacia is described as the boss lady. She was raised by her mother and her stepfather. She doesn't have a relationship with her biological father, and I'm seeing a theme. I don't see anybody really who has a relationship, like a close relationship with their dad this season. Just as an observation. She said that she is very super independent. She's worked very hard. She's got investment properties. She is very financial stable. She has grown up not getting the things that she wanted and been told like, hey, we don't have the money for that. We don't have the money for that. And so that has been her driving force to be financially independent and to make and to be successful. Her mother was concerned about that because she's worked so hard and said, hey, since you don't know this person, are you going to do a post-nup? And Stacia said that yes, she's going to definitely do that. She agrees with this, and that if he's not up to it, if he's not for it, then that will mean a no on decision day for her. That will be a deal breaker. She said that I don't need a man, I want a man, and I don't see anything wrong with that at all. She does say that she feels like she can be a bit intimidating with men, and they are a bit, caught off guard by her success. She did talk about how she emancipated herself at a young age, and how that helped her, living with teammates, helped her to see what a family looks like, and she's like, I really want that. She did also state that married at first sight is the last option for her. So that could mean a great thing, right? Married at first sight is the last option for her. That means she's going to give her all to it, and things may potentially work out for her. Also, saying that married at first sight is the last option for her could also put like high stakes on this and make it even more anxiety provoking than it already is. She's very, very, very sassy, and so I'm a little concerned about how she communicates with Nate, what that's going to look like, if she's going to consider his feelings when she's communicating with him, and if she's going to be kind of snarky. I see that maybe potentially being an issue in their relationship. Nate is described as a hustler with a heart. He stated that he has a small family, but they don't live in San Diego, so he has his friends as a support to him. He calls himself an unorthodox risk taker, as he does day trading and he does marketing for corporations, and he's made his own. He was sleeping in cars, and now he's able to take care of himself, and he wants to be able to take care of someone else and wants someone with ambition. I really feel like ambition-wise, the experts really made a good match, right, for this couple. Like, they both are high achievers. They both are really focused on success and financial success. Nate did state that he's concerned if his past is going to be an issue for Stacia, but doesn't really say what his past is necessarily. So I'm wondering if he's talking about his dating past. That's what I'm thinking he's meaning, as he maybe had some player ways. We see this behavior at the bachelor party, as he told the stripper to get on the floor. I was like, okay. So we shall see. I don't see Stacia being like 100% cool with that, and she's very vocal about what she wants and what she doesn't want, and she seems to have very firm boundaries in this area. So I'm really curious to see how she feels about this footage at the bachelorette party. Don't recall if they talked about this at the after party, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember this being something they talked about at the after party and how she felt about his behavior. He states that he wants a power couple, and him and Stacia will definitely be that. I really kind of feel like this couple is equally matched, but I'm concerned about how they're going to connect. I'm concerned. He comes out very, very confident, and I wonder if Stacia's going to read that as cockiness. She kind of bucks. She kind of bucks a bit. Even in the after party, Justin was trying to coach her a little bit, and he wasn't communicating the best. I have to give Stacia that, but her response was like, no, I don't get what you're saying. Like, it came off very attitude, and I'm just wondering if she can take that protector off to just be able to hear Nate when he's trying to connect with her versus meeting him with the attitude. And not to say that the attitude is a bad thing. It's just going to be a hindrance in vulnerability and communication in their relationship. Next, we have Alexis and Justin. Justin is described as the towering teddy bear as he is 6'8". And he was raised by his brother from the age of 14 to 19. They don't give a lot of details as to why this was, and also that Justin took on his own care at the age of 19. So we do see that his mother was present at the wedding. His mother and his uncle was present. Don't know his relationship with his father and the dynamics surrounding that, but it's just an observation that Justin seems to have a little difficulty with being upfront and honest in his communication. He kind of goes around the bush a little bit, and even when talking with his brother and his sister-in-law about the fact that he's getting married in 2 weeks to a stranger, he kind of skirted around it. At first he was going to do a straight shot, but then he said, okay, I'm not going to say I'm getting married at first sight. I'm just going to say in 2 weeks I'm marrying a stranger. Like he had to kind of go around it. Also, at the after party, something I noticed is that he was dating someone, or he was connecting with someone, and he didn't tell them that he's getting married at first sight. He said, oh, they'll just find out on TV. Justin. So there's some issues there with communication. We know that this is going to be an issue for sure in their relationship. Is it going to make or break their relationship? But it's going to be an issue. Justin disclosed that he had a previous engagement that ended a month before the wedding, as his ex wanted someone who was more financially stable, and he was still building. And so he did say that he is a bit more cautious when it comes to relationships, and that made him be more protective. And he's been celibate for 1.5 years and really wants an emotional connection over a physical connection. We also see that Justin has a very overprotective brother, as he was really, really concerned about Justin and how this marriage could affect him, as he saw how the engagement impacted him. He later on gave his blessing, and he was so encouraging and emotional at the wedding. It was beautiful to see. So I really feel like that Justin has a supportive family, even though his brother was really hesitant about getting married at first sight, rightfully so. And so that will be really helpful for the marriage. Alexis is described as a passionate powerhouse, and I really like this description for Alexis. She is spirited, she is expressive, she does not withhold much. As she was talking about her gas on her wedding day, like I said, this girl says everything. She was proposed to 3 times, and she said no each time, as she stated that she feels like she had some unrealistic expectations of relationships. And this comes from her trauma that she experienced of her parents getting divorced and seeing a failed relationship. She did talk about how her parents didn't get along, and once she got 18, they decided to divorce, and they were grateful that they did. And at the same time, I'm sure there's a part of her that questions, like, is it possible to have a real relationship? And there's a part of her that feels like things have to be perfect in order to go right. So she used this experience to make her fully commit to a relationship. That's a little sketchy, as she said that in this situation she can't run. In my mind, I said, you sure can. previous people in and past seasons have done it. So there's nothing that will be stopping her from running. So maybe she does feel like she has a higher level of commitment now because she knows that relationships aren't perfect. They're often pretty messy. Her guy friends tell her that she needs to work on her delivery, and she said, I'm tact. And I said, well, if they're saying you need to work on your delivery, chances are you probably need to work on your delivery. I'm a little concerned because Justin is a sensitive teddy bear, and so I'm concerned about her directness and how that's going to impact their communication, especially since he is not necessarily upfront in his communication. Also, there's a part of Alexis that is really trying to be, you see herself trying to be a version of herself when she was trying on the wedding dresses. She's like, I'm not girly. And her friends are saying, you don't have to be, just be Alexis. But there's a part of her that is like, oh, is he expecting this? I want to be whatever he wants me to be. And so I'm curious how this is going to play out in the relationship, if there's going to be a part of her that may be playing a role to be accepted, or if she's going to just truly be herself. The episode ends with both Alexis and Justin getting married, and it was a beautiful, when I say beautiful, beautiful ceremony. The two clicked immediately, their personalities, their banter, the way they joked with each other. It was really great to see. Also, what I thought was super cool was that Justin and Alexis had beautiful vows. They weren't promising the moon and the stars to someone they never met. They were more realistic. They were more centered vows. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is good. Normally, married at first sight, these people promise these people the moon and the stars without even knowing them. And so I really, really liked their vows with each other. Alexis was upfront again and, let the cameras know, I'm not really attracted to him, but our connection, I love it. So I'm really excited to see this piece. The communication piece is always the hard part, and that's where I feel like this couple is going to potentially struggle. And also, we don't know much about their family dynamic yet, so I'm really curious to see also how all of that's going to play in their relationship as well. So we will see how these couples go, especially as the weddings continue in the next episodes. Of course, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.